What's good, guys? It's your boy Wally J, and today I'm going to be bringing you some Elestrals content. Super excited about this one. We are right around the corner from Firestorm and the new set that is going to be coming to Elestrals. The first one after kind of like the initial base set of cards. Now that we have all the elements into the game, we're now starting to see the metagame not only really spice up in this last set, but also going into this next set. I'm only honestly excited and crazed about the decks and their power and what A Drive has decided to kind of put into his game. I think there are some really cool decks that are going to be popping up. So this is a nice discussion. Me, Seven Shadow 7, and Landrit all probably had a really we had like a 4.5 hour discussion on each and every card within the set. Today I'm only going to be dropping a piece a little bit. We're going to be talking about fire, maybe some of our additional reactions kind of coming into this. But if you guys are enjoying this, or if you guys are excited about Firestorm, definitely leave a like on this video. I'm going to go ahead and put a 10 likes goal on this video, and as soon as this video hits 10 likes, I'm going to go ahead and drop part 2, which will be Earth. At least Earth is what I should say. I may even give you guys a second element within there, but I want to kind of see how much you guys are excited for Firestorm. Let's generate some hype around this. If you guys haven't already, as you go through this video, leave a comment. Let me know what cards you're excited to see. Let us know just any of your thoughts too on the topics that we're discussing. My main goal for kind of starting this is, or even really having this discussion, is to kind of, number one, prepare for Firestorm, but also just to hear the community's thoughts on all these cards that are coming out, what people feel like is strong, what people are testing with, and ultimately what you guys are, like I said, excited to be playing within this new set. Some background on us, and I guess maybe more specifically me. I've been around the game for a while now, pretty much since its inception prototype, and I have pushed to try to be within top seats each and every time. I've probably fizzled out literally each and every time by like 1 or 2 games, and it's been really frustrating. But I've been wanting to go with cards or decks that I actually like, things like Wind, things like Fossil Cell, which have kind of been proven to not be as strong, but I think that there's always a possibility, and I just have not yet figured out what that looks like. So my goal is to continue to work through that, ultimately bring something that I want to bring to top. And I think I have developed something that is pretty spicy for this next tournament of Moonrise. Unfortunately, I was able to miss this past one on April 26th, but I appreciate all the casters who played. I was able to tune in, and I learned a lot from you guys. So hopefully this is just a stepping stone or another bridge to us learning, developing, and growing as a community. So that being said, definitely that like. As soon as, like I said, as soon as 10 likes gets up there, we're gonna go ahead and drop part 2. Right now, we'll be gonna get diving into Earth. And if you guys haven't already subscribed to the channel, definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you guys know when all of the future parts get dropped. And without that being said, let's go ahead and get into discussion. Peace.
Hello. Happy to be here.
Awesome, cool. Are you excited about Firestorm? What's your thoughts kind of going into this?
It is my most hyped set so far. um, I mean, it tends to happen with Elestrals, and it's fairly newer, so I'm just happy to be keeping up the momentum of excitement.
Fair. Fair. I'll be honest, I do feel like there was like Moonrise dropped. I was super excited for Moonrise. And I don't know,
Yeah.
like a couple weeks in, it just kind of felt bland, if you want me to be honest. But then like obviously we started getting into the like this new meta, this ever-changing meta. And it may have just been my, time in the game where I maybe just need a little break. But I am super excited for Firestorm. I feel like Firestorm is actually a set where it's like the cards that I want to play or how I want to play the game are finally in the game.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now that it's like, it feels like more and more decks are like coming together, and we're getting less like piles like Fives was, which I'm starting to appreciate more.
Yes. I feel like decks have just more of an identity. Uh
Yeah.
I love the somebody was saying it. You can make any deck good now, which is kind of true. I mean, I feel like the staples can go in any deck. It's just like what do you
Yeah.
want to put in to supplement those staples? And we're really starting to see some people cook, obviously, with all the variety of decks being able to top here. I think the last major tournament there was only 2 decks that were copied and it was Fire Nexus. Crazy.
Yeah, staples like Argo is picking up too.
Yes, I think Argo. I love to see. I always am super appreciative when I see these new cards come through. Or I should
Yeah,
say new cards. Old cards come through and they have like renewed vigor. I've said, and I think it may have even been on like an older video, that I feel like guys like Sprouter, people who can find artifact and
yeah,
effectively use that artifact as a nexus bank, are going to be really, really strong in the future, because it's almost like a non-committal nexus bank now, right? I could
yeah.
do, kind of whatever I want with it. Argo plays gives it even more playability where you can pull it out of the deck, obviously beat over some things that people thought they could before. And that card is just, it's just super powerful. I think anything you can do like at the attack step, I think is super strong. So
I feel like it's going to be seeing a little more play in a new upcoming deck.
I mean, yeah, if you want to get into it, we could talk about this champion of,
Faces.
is he, yeah, champion of Hephaestus.
Yeah.
We can head down there first. Cause yeah, who was it? MBT, I believe, already kind of cooked up with what cards we have access to us right now.
Yeah, he's doing a 20.
Yeah,
What is
20
it, 20
spirit
spirit
testing.
testing?
Yeah. So it looked like it was running pretty good. I feel like Volcaries has always been a strong card. I actually went to a locals and I played a guy who literally had Volcaries and he had Tectorus, and he basically just stacked the field with a whole bunch of spirits. So I think they've always been strong. It just hasn't always felt that good to put a whole bunch of spirits on board that you may not necessarily be using for some stuff. Are you
Yeah.
planning on playing Fire at all?
Um, it's so that's a deck that I kind of want to look into. I've got some others that I want to mess with a bit beforehand. I just think
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be a consistently strong choice in this meta. Like it definitely feels like one of the I don't want to say like less mental involvement, but it's going to be like the easiest to find the most consistent ways to top. I feel.
With Fire?
Yeah, because there's a lot
Hmm.
of now you get a bunch of like reuse with the artifacts. Like you
Yes.
start not quite healing, but almost healing because you get to start using your and just things in general. I love that they start using spirits from the underworld
I
because that
agree.
get that
Yeah,
gets around some like spoiled fruit and stuff. So I'm enjoying the more ways to use spirits you've already used that the game's introducing.
I agree. I think I was talking to Seven about this, but I feel like the game is either going in a way where you have to start really using spirits from, the underworld that you've kind of already used, or you're gonna have to really start getting into, we're ultimately gonna have to find a way to heal a whole bunch, which already has kind of a counter in the game. Because the game is just kind of, I don't want to say it's ramping up super fast, but we are starting to get cards that have, more combo potential, more like, 6 spirit plays ultimately that you have to kind of, really be able to account for. And if you're playing a 6 spirit play, you probably need to be able to heal some of those spirits back using from the underworld. So I guess, is there
Yeah,
anyone?
I was looking at another deck, and that's
Hmm?
it needs its heals.
Yeah, every deck needs some heals. That's how I feel it, and that's why I would say, yeah, adding that even in this, we can kind of start talking about some of these maybe cards specifically, but I think
Yeah,
that's where Torchin's actually gonna have a lot of play, right? Like I think a lot of people are gonna start playing Fire, with these new cards in, and Torchin being able to give you some massive heals, off of
yeah,
attack decoration, right? He doesn't even necessarily have to get the attack off,
yeah,
is going to be huge, I think, for some crazy plays. And then obviously you start adding in guys like Dragalis, from that solar package with Draco Ray, and you kind of have
yeah,
some really good, heal coming out of Fire with some strong guys, and really some beater potential.
for sure.
Is there any Fire, or I guess any of these champions that stand out to you specifically? We can kind of talk about the whole package, as well.
For sure. The divines are getting more searchers for the specific names, which is also good that we're kind of moving a little further away from maybe necessarily needing a card like Elichick or
Mm-hmm.
Plucky if you need to run more, since Elichick's limited.
Yeah.
um, Like we're getting more that like they don't search generally, but they search for their own like specific divine, but they do more as well. Like Volcarius is not only going to help you get your divine to use for all these artifacts. Hephaestus searches artifacts, I believe, by disenchanting too,
Yeah.
from your deck, and then you can use.
I think it's actually one. I think it's only
Is it just?
one. Yeah, let me
Hmm,
check. Go down here. Uh, it's on this list. One sec. You can keep talking though. I'll find the card.
yeah. Well, like so, whatever it disenchants for, you're grabbing an artifact, and we're starting to include some, even if it is just disenchant one, we're starting to include some one
Yeah.
spirit artifacts like
Disenchant one.
Hephaestus
Yep.
disenchant one.
Yep. You get to put 3
Um,
on, and you can ultimately find up to 4 artifacts over the course of the game if you do put all 3 on.
nice. So yeah, like I mean, even just with that, Volcarius enables you to use your spirits from the underworld, your fire spirits specifically,
Mhm.
to enchant the artifacts, which is kind of what we were talking about. More ways to use the spirits instead of healing it and your card getting wiped by a spoiled fruit or something. um, and we're introducing, like I was saying, more one spirit artifacts. Like gonna skip ahead a little more to the anvil
No,
because
you're
that's
good.
a
I know I'm showing these cards, but feel free to talk about whatever card. I'll try and go find it.
so like the anvil, like it's gonna give you +1 attack. Like let's say you're just doing that first turn play of like starting to set things up, but you want your artifact to play.
Mhm.
Volcarius is gonna let you use the spirit that you disenchanted to search it, and anvil is gonna give the empowered Elestral +1 attack. Um, and if any of your other artifacts are destroyed, you can put the spirits that were on that artifact onto a different card on the field so that you're not losing those.
Mhm.
Like what you were talking about, you want to start using more spirits on board for your invokes and your counters.
Yep.
This is a card that lets you do that too.
Yep. I agree. I definitely agree. I would also say the anvil is strong, but I would even think the torch of Hestia is strong. I mean, you effectively
Oh, for
get
sure.
at least a 6, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
he still has a buff passive for his attack. No, he does not.
No,
Um,
he's just a 4-2. But
yeah, so he becomes a 6, and when he decides to declare that attack, you're gonna be able to find some Elestrals that are fire enchanted, which I think is I get actually it's not even fire Elestrals, it's any fire card, which
yeah.
I think could really add in some, how would I put it? Like it's an even better Apollo in some ways. Because obviously the foretell is strong in itself. You're able to
Yeah.
search, know what your next 3 cards are. If you need to maybe funnel them out and figure out how to reset those 3 cards, find a way to shuffle. But yeah, once you get that Hestia's torch going and you start putting fire cards back in your hand, you just get a lot of draw power. So uh, off of that, I mean, I know I've talked to you a little bit about just like pulling cards out of the deck and card advantage. You play Volcarius, you pull out a Hephaestus, you pull out the torch,
Yeah.
and then you've effectively pulled four or five cards out of the deck already. Like, I mean, that's insane advantage, and you have a 6-2 beater um, that's getting over most cards right now.
Yeah.
So
Although I do want to point out with Torch, the foretell and like adding a card, so you can foretell 3 regardless. You can like stack your deck.
yes,
But
it is only
the add is
Hestia.
only of Hestia. Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I can agree with you there.
But
Um,
you still know what's coming, and your opponent to an extent will, because they'll still see the 3 cards, but they
mhm.
don't know how you're putting them back. So
Yeah, and that's always the play, right? I've actually really enjoyed it. I feel like I've been becoming somewhat of a solar caster and really playing around with the foretell. And I love being able to say, hey, look, these are the 3 cards you might have to deal with, and like let people's brain almost start churning. Because they're starting to think about, oh, I need to expect this, I may need to expect this. And there's almost some like play in that as well. Um,
for sure.
so
Yeah, I've been messing with Solar kind of casually, teaching some other friends how to play, and
yeah.
they're always like, "All right, there are your cards, but what's coming next?" Like,
That is fair. So one thing I noticed, at least something that is coming pretty heavy, with these next. Let me. All right, my fault. I can edit that out. Anyway, what I'm seeing big on a lot of these cards and a lot of these decks that we're going to be seeing now is a lot of special summons. So you mentioned Hestia. Hestia is one of those cards that is going to add in and make that special summon plays. Caperfume, which has been a very underplayed card, I think is going to see a lot of play potentially coming into this next set because of it's a power to special ascend. You can get it now first turn if you do have it in hand, and then the draw advantage you can get just with having Smoky, which is another big thing. It's kind of like he made those cards for this card specifically in Hestia, and then obviously all of these other items that are Hestia specific are going to be really strong. Especially where's that guy Wormite? I think Wormite might be one of the strongest cards coming into Firestorm as of right now, especially with Hestia's Heart. Even just the ability to kind of knock somebody down -3 has always been strong. The fact that you can do it proc it multiple times in a turn on multiple different people makes it even stronger. So I'm honestly really afraid of this card, but we'll kind of have to see how it decides to play out. We do have 7 in here now.
Also, welcome in 7.
Yeah, welcome in 7.
Yo, what's going on?
Do you want to say what's up to the people, 7?
Hey, I'm glad to be here, and I hope y'all enjoy this video. Give it a thumbs up.
Appreciate you. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what cards you're excited for coming into Firestorm. Yeah, no, we've just been talking. We've only been on Fire. We were just kind of talking about how strong Valkyries is, and just kind of switched over to talking about Hestia. And really, just that Fire is going to be probably one of the strongest decks coming into this next format.
Yeah, I agree with that. Fire is looking troublesome indeed.
I know you were talking about potentially playing Bears. How do these new cards kind of affect what you're thinking?
Without actually doing a play test and just looking at it, I think it's definitely a great addition for Bears indeed. I think Bears might actually take a ship.
I can see it.
I think it's going to happen this time around. I don't know where they'll fall at after this, but there is potential for a Bears championship, and yeah, I mean, but it's tough too because when you look at, I know we're just talking about Fire, but when you look at all of the elements, I guess you could call out something to be like, hey, this look like this has the potential also to make it all the way. So yeah, I do think this is Bears' best shot though. I don't think we'll get another set where Bears will. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think Bears is going to get another set where they're this dominant.
I could say, hey, we still got to get a Glacier's champion of whoever.
Yeah, right. We still need him. We still need the Frosty champions as well. I would say too with this Firestorm set, right? Like Fire, I think is going to be super strong because it has 2 divines with 2 different sets of champions as well. Whereas some of the other sets where we didn't get that second divine right now, we only have kind of 1 set of those champions. We really don't know what the other set's going to do and ultimately going to kind of play into the game. But yeah,
if I'm A draft though, I'm not making Glacier's a champion for Frost. He gave him 1 bear. I wouldn't make Frost. Yeah, it just doesn't make. I don't see why that would be the case. Cryoburn or something, yes, but like no.
I could see it. It just needs to be on a different divine rune, right? Because right now we have the champions of Kione, and they are what Brahmalinks and Shiverer. Yeah, Shiverer.
We do have a baby bear for Kyo.
Baby bear.
Yeah, I think 1 bear is cool, but like it would just be weird to just like have almost every bear become like a champion. I just don't think it's necessary.
That's fair.
Yeah, I can feel that. That's fair. I don't think they all will, but I
get Thunder Bear in the future.
Yeah, I could see Glacier Ursa potentially having one, but I think Urska, even without the being in a bear package, right? He actually seems like he has some play outside of bears in this Champion of Kione deck. because it's all about just kind of knocking out runes and popping runes, and he's kind of able to do that. So
I was gonna say it's almost like our old Brummelinks, except
yes, low key
it
worse.
doesn't need to be moving spirits around. Like,
I mean, you need to send a spirit.
that's if you want to use it a second time. You can just use it once per turn without doing anything.
True.
So.
Interesting.
That's also once per
I see
turn,
what
so
you're
you're
saying.
going to
Yeah,
keep
I see what
blocking
you're
them.
saying.
So.
Yeah. That's actually really good. You can just say, hey, nah, I don't like both of your runes, and kind of lock somebody out as you kind of create and generate pressure.
I will say it's easier to walk over than our old Brummeling stuff.
Fair. Did you guys have any other, I guess, picks out of Fire that y'all wanted to talk about before we kind of move to another element?
I'm seeing y'all how scary spiders were.
We have not really talked about spiders. I figured we need to talk about Flarachne and spiders, which we can talk about spiders in a different set because they're kind of wind and fire and almost they had some frost in there too. And then you can obviously play guys like Ardbud and really search them out. So I was gonna leave spiders for a different little set just to talk about them specifically because I do think that deck is really strong. And the fact that Flarachne is a champion of Hestia, you can get that Scepter of Hestia to really start searching out, things like the Arachne's Lair or even the new divine that is what the Fire Folate Forest to help kind of burn. More specifically, you definitely want the Arachne's Lair because they'll be burning each turn, but we can kind of get
even
to
just the draw though was I watched A-Drive play it at Dallas against somebody to try to win his divine, and like every time you play one of them, which they start kind of playing each other, but you just keep drawing cards off of each time, so it lets you maintain your hand advantage.
True. Very true. Speaking of hand advantage, I did want to, before we leave Fire, talk about Ignector. I think a lot of people may be sleeping on Ignector. He has been slept on. He probably wasn't that good before, if we're honest. But Ignector honestly has, I think, a very strong play coming into Firestorm. I think Elestrals has been really good about, there's a lot of times where we don't have like name sets or archetype based sets, and you're really just going for good cards. I think Ignector, with its ability to pull almost 5 to 6 cards out of the deck first turn, is kind of insane. I don't think you ever run, more than one of this Ignector. And you run 2 of the other one to ultimately pull all of them out of the deck. But you create a board that's wide, 3 wide, and then you also obviously create a 4-card advantage. So I think a lot of people, I don't know how many people are looking at Ignector and being like, this card is good, but I do see a very strong spot for it in the meta, even if it's just for a, card advantage play first turn. Kind of like Card D if any of you guys play Yu-Gi-Oh!
Fear the bugs.
Fear the bugs. Yeah. I mean, it is, A-Drive, and, he loves bugs, so to be expected. All right. I'm going to go up to Earth. Just because I don't.
I did want to wrap up a few more things in Fire before we leave. I was gonna quickly I don't really know how much into the specifics for the champions of Hephaestus we need to necessarily go back to. Like Romacol is just gonna be good because you get to recycle those artifacts.
Yeah.
And then, but Scavacol, because you were talking about like special casting, special ascending, stuff like that. So you can put Scavacol on top of any of your Fire Elestrals if you have at least 2 enchanted artifact runes on your field.
Yep.
And whereas normally those artifacts that are good on those other cards would go away, if you ascend over a card that has an artifact on it, those artifacts will just re-enchant the Scavacol without using any additional spirits.
Yes, which I think would be really strong too, yeah.
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
It is, for sure.
And then I did want to briefly mention, because I haven't been cooking too much with it, but the Empyrix Champion of Hestia, I also want to bring it up because I believe it's a shop promo for the Stellar.
It is. Yeah, Fireworks
Yeah,
is a shot promo. Very nice promo, by the way.
for
Is
sure.
he at the bottom? He's so cute. Where's he at?
Yeah, they seem to do really good with the promo cards. If we're being honest, I
They
think
do.
they hit those on the mark.
Yeah, but like this is
He's not here. I don't see him, but he's so cute. He's a nice little
just some
stud.
like base idea. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. No, closing thoughts.
Just some base ideas I was having is that especially in like Fire Nexus could benefit off of this when you pair it with Hestia.
Yes, I agree.
Because this is going to keep you're going to take a spirit off of Hestia to recycle whatever Fire Elestral, one spirit obviously,
Mm-hmm.
that you want back to your hand. And then anytime you ascend into it during the end phase, it'll come back. So not only are you going to keep getting spirits to move around, but you're going to keep widening your board to kind of give those spirits too.
I
think that
agree.
would be pretty strong.
I think if you're not running Inferics in a Hestia deck, you're playing it wrong, is what I would definitely say. Because I think the advantage that you can just getting wide with Hestia specifically. So we can go down and check out Hestia here. For those of you guys who may not have checked this out yet, Hestia you can enchant up to 3. Pretty typical, effect for the Divine Rune to start off. But when you send 2, you can special cast a 1 Spirit Fire Elestral from your hand. If your opponent controls the same number or more, right? So obviously this is a card that says, hey, if you don't have the advantage, or if you have the advantage, you can't fully press it. But if you have the Inferics, you can continue to press that lead and not be limited by the Hestia's effect, which, like I said, I think it'd be super strong. I think right now, especially with the meta, if you can have somebody stick for a turn, it's always really strong. You never ever want to leave a board open. And not only are you sticking a guy, you're able to kind of get a bigger guy next turn. And so I think Caperfume. So I know I've mentioned him earlier, but I think Caperfume in a Hestia deck is going to be insane for this reason as well. I do think it'll be very expensive, which means you have to play Torchin and other ways to heal. But ultimately, you are kind of in a very strong set, a very aggressive set, which I feel like Fire has always wanted to be aggressive, but hasn't really had the guys that were big enough to do so.
Yeah. And then going back on healing, just as we continue to use divines, another little heads up is that there is divine healing, which will
There
also
is.
go around spoiled fruit.
True. I do think it'll see more play as well, as we're seeing like stronger divines get into the game, right? I would even say too, like expensive strong divines. Like Aeolus feels strong, but just to get another card to your hand doesn't feel as good as especially summoning a guy out. So
Not yet, anyways.
any other final thoughts, I guess, on Fire? And we can always like I said, go back, talk about these, mention them, and if they come up. But
In my own personal notes, I did put, and this is less so for Fire, but more so as we advance, just keep an eye out for Cryoblast. That card's gonna stay good.
oh,
I've been
for
checking
sure.
the defenses on a lot of the good cards coming out, and they're still in prime Cryoblast range.
Cool deal. All right, well, let's go up to Earth. Since it's at the top of the list here, and Earth didn't really get a lot of support, I feel like. But I think the cards it did get are going to be very effective. But I would also say I don't know if we really have all of the champions quite yet for Earth specifically. It kind of doesn't really. It really seems like all of the Earth champions as of right now are kind of designed to be in non-Earth decks outside of maybe Vertilith and Pandas in here.
Yeah, I feel like we for sure got to see more Demeter
Yes.
as time goes on. I don't think they're gonna cap Demeter at 2 for her element. But that also means we're gonna have another dedicated Earth in the future to look out for, and I wonder who's gonna be going to that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, and maybe Earth is just so strong that Adrar was like, hey, we don't really need to give it a lot more support. We don't, Demeter's strong, but I think we would at least see another champion of Demeter come out of here. Um,
Fair. Yeah, I've noticed there are more champions that are not residing within Earth out of this
Yep.
card pool than there are from Divines residing in Earth.
Which I mean, I get it, right? We've
Yeah.
got the new Panzer. He's gonna be. I feel like he's actually gonna be pretty strong. Obviously with the ability to draw once you get him off of the field. Also,
Yeah.
just the new Viserys, right? We can now play Viserys back at 3, and this one being unaffected by counter runes is going to be, pretty big. Obviously, a little bit more, still susceptible to cryoblast. We're getting Drataya back, but I don't think this Drataya is going to be that good.
I'm
Listen.
curious.
The best Earth core in this set is Titanic stock, and it's going to cause
For sure,
all kinds of problems.
I agree.
I've already been thinking about that card.
Yeah, I
that
agree.
card is
For reasons that are not Earth.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I
for
am
both
so
for Earth
excited.
and for Wind is a problem.
Yeah, I am so excited for Titanic stock. You're right though, for Earth as well. Obviously the ability to enchant an extra win to the field helps out a lot in these win toolbox decks that use a lot of receivers. Even just thinking about the ability to burn somebody down with this ability, I think is going to be really strong and something to look at too. Titanistock also, I think, has a really strong potential to always enable Tower of Winds to kind of be online. I think right now Tower of Winds kind of feels bad because it needs to go to another wind enchanted Elestral, but now you can pretty much make anything wind enchanted. So yeah, I think we'll see a lot more. I'd even say like just special summons from Titanistock, like